So this is hopefully the first of many conversations, including what we hope is a deep dive into travel hacking. Our YouTube viewers have been asking us for years and years to get into Tim is like really into this whole, they call it the hobby. So he spends hours a day reading through 200 to 300 RSS feeds relating to travel hacking. And people would say, like, how do I get all that information, Tim? And it's really kind of a tough thing, because it's a deep conversation. It's nuanced. It changes constantly. It's really detail oriented. We're talking about money and credit cards and things that are changing really quickly, and things that don't have exact rules. Like the banks don't put out exact rules of how things work. It's just kind of how it's going lately. And so Tim tries to keep on the pulse of that. So we're hoping, and that didn't really lend to our videos, like our weekly video format, because like that stuff is to be more like evergreen, and it just didn't make sense for us. So this live does. So again, this is going to be hopefully the first of many. So today I saw that some friends were RSVP'd who are not US citizens and they don't live in the US. This is going to be a conversation that is really for people who can apply for US credit cards. So you're certainly welcome to stay, but if you aren't able to apply for US credit card, then this is probably going to be a waste of your time. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that up front. So, okay, now also we're not going to be answering like all the questions about travel hacking. This is a really deep conversation. This is going to be really about a tool that we found very, very helpful. So because you might have heard, we have at least 30 active credit cards between the two of us, between Tim and I.
Working on 50.
Working on 50, and it can be a bit of a organizing challenge. This is a way that you're going to be able, the Travel Freely tool is going to help you with organization. Tim is going to talk about some of the reasons that we love Travel Freely, but we're going to start with Tim is going to give just a heads up of what he loves about it. Our friend Zach Hood, who developed it, is going to talk about Travel Freely, give you a tour around. It's a free tool. It's super, super awesome. Like I said, Tim's going to share some of the things that he loves about it. And then afterward, we're going to do some Q&A. So pop your questions into the chat box. And even if we don't cover them today, some of those questions are going to be good for future live. So I'm going to capture those. Like I said, we're not going to ask all of those, but feel free to put all of your travel hacking questions in there, and I will be capturing those. Whether or not we deal with them today, that's another story. So I'm going to get into introducing Zach. Coincidentally, Zach Hood is from the same county that we were from in Colorado. So we happened to meet him just at a holiday party of like travel blogger people in 2018. And he talked about this tool that he was developing, and it sounded awesome. And it came out a few months, I guess it was coming out right as we met him. And as soon as it came out, we realized that this is absolutely fabulous. We dedicated an entire video to it back in 2019. The tool is free. And so again, Tim's going to talk, but it helps you organize things. And also there's Zach he's a teacher, he's a coach, he's a counselor. He used to be in the school system. After the success of Travel Freely, he was able to leave his his career behind as an educator, but he does do a lot of education in the Travel Freely platform, and he does break down concepts really, really easily because he's had that experience. So yeah, so we do have a link, a Go With Less link, that I'm going to put in a second into the chat box. If you do sign up for Travel Freely, which we would recommend, we suggest that you use our link. We would appreciate that very much. Like I said, it's a free tool, but I'm going to kick it off to Tim.
Here's basically, I'm just going to introduce Zach. The 5 things that we really like about Zach's tools. These are our favorite features of the tool. And so, like Amy said, we have 30 credit cards. We're always working on more. So sometimes this sort of ebbs and flows, but currently we have, I don't know, I think 32. So organization is one of the primary things we really, really, really like about Zach's tool. So as you can imagine, just managing these cards in your life, his tool helps with that in several aspects. The other thing that we really like about it is that it's secure. And what I mean by that is you don't have to put in, you do have to sign up for an account and give Zach your email. And then also you're going to have to go in and inventory your cards, just put in some basic information. And Zach will go into details about this. But you don't have to put in card numbers. You don't have to put any logins or passwords or anything like that. So, and because Zach has that information about the types of cards you have, that makes his recommendations very smart. So Amy and I will often have conversations with people talking about recommending a card or a collection of cards. And so what he does in asking you what kind of cards you have, that's a conversation we would have as well, because it's important that we know what you have in order to make good recommendations. His tool does that, so it makes really intelligent recommendations. Also, one of the things that Zach does that I think is unique in this space is that he's looking out for the best offers. So it's not just the offers that happen to be with the affiliate relationship that Zach might have with Card Ratings or something like that. Also, if there are referral programs that are paying better for you, not for Zach, that are paying better, like right now, I think Amex has a 150,000 point offer and the standard offer is like 100K. Zach goes out and tries to find referrals that he can share. And so I think that comes with a lot of integrity. I think also Zach Zach has a lot of integrity. And so that's one of the things that we not only like about the tool, but we really like about Zach. He's just someone that's a really stand-up guy. And then there's a lot of education that Zach has put together on his website that makes it, if you're new to travel hacking, or even if you're looking for some specific topics, he's got some great tools that just sort of walk you through getting going specifically with the tool, and then sort of more generic travel hacking stuff. So these are the things that we are really, really fond of about the tool. And then I think I'll turn it over to Zach unless you have anything else to share. Amy, are we ready to go?
So thank you guys for joining. And like Tim and Amy said, we've been friends for a while, and sometimes that isn't the case when you get on a live and someone says we're good friends, but we have known each other for a long time. And before the app was even a thing, we met. So it's fun to be with you, Amy and Tim, on this, and everybody else here. And I will say that the main thrust of Travel Freely is to help the beginner get started, or the intermediate that has a card or two. And that's where you reference like the educational part is really, really important, because I've found there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of articles, but there are very few sites or groups out there that help people from a very elementary perspective of starting here, do this, in terms of educating how to get started with points and miles the right way. And then the other part is how to keep going. So when I was talking to people early on, kind of doing a points and miles consulting business, a lot of people loved the idea, but they didn't know like how to stay organized. They didn't know everything they needed to know, and they're worried about managing like the deadlines for their sign-up bonuses and their annual fees. And that's really the where Travel Freely came in, to cover that whole spectrum of like, how do I get started? What do I need to know? Which also includes, what do I not need to know, to block out some of that noise? And then what's a tool I can use to stay organized and stay sane doing this while you're getting started. And I do think as well, it's the points and miles in general and free travel is like, is available for everybody. Like if you're a beginner or advanced, it's there's a quote that is for something else, but repurposed, like the waters of travel hacking is like shallow enough for a child to walk around, but deep enough for an elephant to swim, kind of thing. So even if you aren't up for spending a lot of time on this, you can get tons of value. And that's really the attractive thing for me, for a beginner. And then the more time you put in, you can get more value. But the initial few things that you do are really where the big wins are. So that's kind of the premise for Travel Freely. And I'll share a little bit of background on my end. Like Amy and Tim said, I am not from like the travel industry or credit card industry or the tech world at all. I'm a pretty normal guy who was a teacher in my old high school right out of college. I started a nonprofit that helped start sports programs in Belize, and that's most of my life has been nonprofits or education. So starting a business was relatively new, but I've got entrepreneurs in my family. I've got elementary school teachers in my family. So this was kind of like this merging of how can I help people travel for free with a fun concept, and have it be sort of service oriented to serve people first instead of the profit. So woven into all of Travel Freely is how can as many people benefit from this. So the app is free, and then how can we be as honest and ethical, which means those best offers are always the best offers and not the ones that you get in your email from the corporate sites that are not even the best cards and not even the best offers that you can find. So I live in Denver now and have wife and a 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old son and a 5-month-old daughter. My original starting point for points and miles was in southern France. Long story short, I had this dream of proposing to my wife in southern France out of college. And it ended up that I got connected to a friend who told me about a credit card bonus that when you clicked over and looked at it, it said, good enough, the bonus is good enough for 2 round trip tickets to Europe. And I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was true. I told my friend, I don't think so. There's got to be fees and all this stuff involved. But it actually was true. I finally signed up for it, and we ended up getting engaged there in southern France, right near the Italian border, Monaco, Nice, all that area. And that's to this day my favorite spot in the world. But that led me to go deep dive on points and miles. And since then, we've traveled to so many awesome places, and many more where we've gotten free flights and hotels. And I think most of you in this group have been on this path for a while, and some of you just starting out. And what hit me so hard with that first sign up was just how easy it was to do it. Like, I was a teacher, not making much money, but able to hit these sign up bonuses. And so Travel Freely came out of friends and family asking me how we were able to do this as we took this deep dive into credit card points and miles. I originally started like one-on-one consulting with people, and I'm much more introverted than extroverted, and that was very exhausting for me to talk to so many people. And just the light bulb went off that this could be an app for people to learn, because so many of the basic, beginner, and intermediate steps are the same thing. And the other part of it was helping people stay organized, helping people understand what's coming up for their fees, bonuses, and what card is next. And that was the dropping off point of people that would maybe get one really good card or 2 good cards and then get overwhelmed with, like, how do I manage this? Or I'm afraid of these annual fees popping up and not being on top of them. And that's where the idea for an app came in, which originally was this very basic website browser-based app. And we've since updated that in the last 2 years and launched a mobile app at the beginning of last year too. And so people can choose which experience they want. Basically, I'm more of like a desktop person. So there's a browser-based app, but then there's also on your phone a mobile-based app, and the login works for both desktop and phone. So I'm going to dive in a little bit of like what happens when you sign up, and hopefully weave in kind of the beginner tips on along the way. But we initially ask you where you want to go. And that was the reason for one of the questions earlier, was basically we want to motivate you and keep you focused on the actual travel, not just earning points to earn points, but actually having a successful redemption of those points to go where you want to go. And you can choose from photos that we have set up and locate where you want to go. And eventually we want to tie those locations into even more specific advice, and maybe share success stories and other membership success stories. And that's kind of coming into the next phase, but that's not yet, but it soon hopefully will be fun to share where everyone around the world has been and where they're going and those kind of things. And then the very basic powerful part of Travel Freely is the understanding of your own cards. And so, like Tim said, people will log in and add your card, the name of the card, and when you opened it by the date, and that's it. We don't do any bank login syncing. I don't think many people want random apps or software to get your bank login details, and the syncing issues are still a problem for a lot of those apps. And I also don't think that the privacy and the security is that amazing, despite them saying it's awesome. So we've always stayed away from that, try to respect that. And so it's really just the name of the card when you opened it. And then based on that, if you have a bonus coming up, we know when that date would be, the annual fee, you can edit the bonus amounts and those kind of things if there's something different. But that's the easy setup. And if you just have a couple cards, it's pretty quick. If you have a lot of cards, it might be a cup of coffee time to load them all up. But then once you do, we will have those ready and manage and attract for up to 2 people per account. If you have a third or fourth, then you'll need to have a second account. But we'll track 2 users with each user having a business if that's relevant. And then each card itself, we have just a quick look at some relevant perks of the card, the benefits, the spending categories, insurance benefits, if there's anything there. And then we have a few more kind of next level things in terms of like annual fee advice on whether to keep or cancel the card or downgrade it when that time comes. And all of this is integrated with push notifications and email reminders. So I think that's the next slide here. So
Zach, while we're here, Allison and Dylan,
yeah.
and Dylan had a question about, so they're in 2-player mode. And so do they sign up for one account, or they both sign up for separate accounts? What's the model there with that situation?
Most people would sign up for one account, and so it'd be under one email, and the email reminders would go to one email. It's a little bit personal preference. Like if you both kind of want your own space and do your own card thing, then you might want 2 accounts. But if normally there's one person that's kind of the leader of the pack that wants to be most diligent about it, and that would be the one email with 2 users. And I'll show you in a second. It still will give you separate credit card recommendations because you're individual people, you have separate credit profiles. So that's one of the big tips, is that a couple can double up on the same card by applying separately and getting 2 bonuses. So that's all integrated in the app as well. And so, yeah, it can work either way, but most people would say one account with 2 users. And so then these reminders will come. There's a set reminders for annual fees and bonus deadlines, and those alerts come if you have the app on your phone with notifications, but also through email, and you'll get advice on what to do with that particular card, if there's an option to maybe downgrade to a no annual fee card. And then with specific rewards programs, some it's very easy to move your points around to save those points. Others you might lose them, so we give you that warning on that. And then a lot of them, like the co-branded cards that are an airline or hotel card like this Hyatt, your points or miles are already with the airline or hotel loyalty program, so they're not tied with the card, and that's not a problem. But the goal with these notifications is to track that sort of overwhelming piece to it of, I have a few cards, I have these sign-up bonuses, I need to know when they're coming up. And so our app will send 2 reminders for each alert. And then on the app, we also have like a task to-do list. So it will rank what's coming up next based on the date. So if you have a sign-up bonus deadline, that's the very next thing that'll be up next. If you have an annual fee coming up, it'll show that. And we even have a best time to apply for your next card. It's not a perfect feature, but the goal of that is to help people know that it's okay to apply for more cards and get more bonuses. And the timer on that is 90 days, which is kind of a conservative sweet spot for letting a card application, new card that you've gotten, you might get a few points of a dip for the credit inquiry and new account on your credit score. And then over the next 3 months, it really goes back up to where it was and exceeds it because you've got a new account with responsible on-time payment history. And then it also seems to be that most banks scrutinize the last 90 days of your credit report. And so if there's no open accounts in the last 90 days, that looks really good. So we do not advocate for like, okay, go sign up for 5 cards today and rack up all this spending and get all these bonuses. Some sites do that. Some people do that. If you're capable of doing that, that's fine. I've found that in the long run, that can be harmful to your credit, but also in the long term for getting approved for credit cards. So the bank will see, for the next several years, like, whoa, on this month you opened five new credit cards and all these accounts, and they don't know you're trying to get the points. They may think you were in a serious situation and needing cash. So that makes them very nervous. But if you're spacing out the applications more strategically, that can be very, very helpful for the long term and always getting these bonuses. One thing I would add to these alerts is that you'll also, we're testing this out with a few banks. You'll get an alert when you become eligible for the bonus of a card you already have for the second time or third time. And so when you have your cards in our system, we are able to track the application rules. Many of you know, I'm sure, that you can get these cards multiple times, but they're different rules. So sometimes it's every 24 months, a few cards every 48 months, and we're actually tracking that as well. So we'll tell you when that is coming. If there's some cards that you maybe need to do something like downgrade or close the account in order to get a new one, we'll tell you that too. That's a little bit more of an intermediate advanced note, but I think one thing to add is if you've had a card, what's common that I hear is like a Southwest card someone's had for 8 to 10 years, and they love Southwest, they love getting points. Well, all the Southwest cards have a 24-month bonus eligibility rule, and so you can really get that card every 24 months and get a new bonus. And so we help you identify that and know that that's possible. And then one thing, I try to be very diligent with, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Interrupting. So a couple of quick things. And this is something I forgot to say at the intro of the presentation. And this is something, anytime we're talking about credit cards, and I don't know, but so we never encourage people to go into debt. And so credit cards are something, if you keep any balance on your credit cards, in our opinion, you should not be travel hacking. You should not be signing up for cards, because ultimately the points that you earn are going to be washed away with the debt that you might accrue. So that's just sort of a common disclaimer that we give when we're talking about cards. So anytime we're encouraging people to sign up for cards, our hope is that you're paying your cards off in full every month. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't be playing the travel hacking game. And then one other quick thing about, you mentioned your credit score is going to have a little dip. Somebody had asked a question in the presentation about your score. I think you probably have some material on your site about how sort of travel hacking has the ability to improve your score. Is that right? You have some material like that on your site?
Yes. So we're going to do kind of an FAQ at the end, right? Or Q&A,
Perfect.
not FAQ.
Yes.
And we can run through. No, I'm not shaming Tim there. I'm just saying that we can run through a lot of these questions. And that definitely is the case. We're always trying to create more content for that educational piece if those questions exist. And
Perfect.
This is our fourth year. And I started this by doing like local seminars at rec centers in Denver, and that was where a lot of these questions came, and it's still a lot of the same questions. So
Perfect.
yes, they're definitely
and one other quick thing,
content for that.
Amy and I have up 15 cards each or so to come up to 30. We both have 830 plus credit scores. So the number of credit cards you have are only going to help you as opposed to hurt you. So I know that probably if you're in our age category, that wasn't the common wisdom 20 years ago. So, but certainly the way the metrics work with credit cards, the more credit access you have, the better off you're going to be with your credit score.
Yes. And just FYI, I did a quick glance of all the questions. Everything that's not specific, every question that's not specific to a card is actually covered in our like beginner ebook and beginner email series. And there's also a beginner webinar that kind of like comes with the app. If you choose, when you sign up, if you choose that you're a beginner, then you'll get those. And so we can fly through some of those questions, but yes, those are all really good questions so far. So excited about tackling those. Let's continue here. One thing that I really got annoyed by when I was starting to learn all this as a beginner was the kind of content that you would get when you follow a site and you say, oh, wow, this is valuable. I want to sign up for their newsletter. A lot of these sites are like ad driven revenue, or just trying to get your attention to get back on their site. And some of them are just super geeked out with everything you ever wanted to know about an airplane or travel or an airline. And I found 90% of it just not very relevant. So a lot of these are tongue-in-cheek examples, but Some of them are pretty close to accurate when I was starting out, and I really wanted to block out the noise, especially for beginners that don't care about certain airlines or don't care about certain hotels. And so we are able to send emails that are relevant to the best overall tips and advice. And then when we get more detailed on a specific card or rewards program, the cool thing about the app is that we know the cards that you have in the reward programs because of you adding them. And so we can send smart reminders or deals or things like that. I'll skip to right here, based on the cards you have. So like this is an example of a cool promo that Hyatt had. They've had a couple times, and we can send that just to the people that have Hyatt cards, so that if you don't like Hyatt or you don't have the Hyatt card, you don't get annoyed by this kind of an email. So it's really trying to block out the noise and be, if there's anything very, very important, we'll send that out in our regular weekly newsletter and in some other updates or big alerts. But if it's more pertaining to a specific program or credit card, then we can be smarter about what we do and don't send to you. And then, so this is really probably what sets us apart from maybe some other apps or sites out there, is that a lot of our focus is on helping educate people. And at the time that most of this content, the beginners content, was created and doing seminars, I was actually an elementary school teacher and like a counselor as well. And I did not know how well that fit together by teaching first graders about something and then going home and working on articles and emails to teach travel hacking concepts to beginners. But that has been a great blessing in disguise, to be able to create that content and have it as simple as possible and be able to recognize the questions people have and not just throw this huge ebook at you or this huge library of content that is way over your head or overwhelming or anything like that. So just kind of knowing the pace, but also knowing people learn at different speeds and people learn in different mediums. So we have videos, we also have just articles to read, we have ebooks, and they're kind of paced out. And then based on the cards you have, there's content as well for you to look at. And so that is all meant to help you get started in a manageable way. And then as you've gotten started, giving you resources to refer to without having to go all over the internet to find it or get sold on something that you don't want or isn't relevant. So we have a basic free travel 101 guide, and then a guide for small business owners, all those kind of things. And then let's see, one of the cooler features that took the most time to kind of create is the Card Genie. And that is the recommendations that on the surface looks pretty similar to a lot of sites or corporate sites out there that just list a bunch of cards. But ours are unbiased. The advertising disclosure of those big sites, Credit Karma, NerdWallet, all those you'll see say that our placements of these cards may be impacted by the relationships we have with certain partners. We don't list every card or every offer. So they could have some really bad recommendations at the very top. And I just for fun try to do that all the time. And I notice just they're cards I already have and I'm not eligible for, or they're cards that are really not, they're way down the rankings that we have. So the Card Genie is a blend of rankings of the best offers that I rank based on the experience of a beginner, erring on the side of someone just getting started. And then it takes into account the cards that you already have once you've added them to your My Cards page. So it will take into account behind the scenes what the application rules are, and it will filter out anything you're not actually eligible for. And so a couple examples of that would be the Southwest personal credit cards. You're only allowed to have one Southwest personal credit card, and you won't get approved for another one, and you won't get the bonus for another one, even though they have 3 different kinds of personal Southwest cards. They're considered a family. So if you've added a card, a Southwest personal card to your My Cards page, you won't see any other Southwest personal credit cards recommended. The Chase Sapphire Preferred listed there, that's one of the best cards. That also, you can't get that if you already have it. You can't get that if you have their family of cards, and so it'll be blocked out as well. And so the idea is, if you see it, you're eligible for it, as long as your My Cards page is up to date, and you don't have to worry about all these application rules and those kind of things. The rankings themselves, I really err on the side of a beginner intermediate, and what I've noticed their experience level is and what they value most. So by that, most beginners think that a $500, $600, $700 annual fee is pretty crazy. So those cards will be a little lower in the rankings. There's some cards based on ability to get approved or ability to have good customer service or redemption. Like Frontier card is nowhere near the top of our rankings because of all their fees and the difficulty of using those points and everything. So there's a little bit of personal touch to the rankings, and then it's put through what the actual best offers are at the time. And we update that on a daily basis whenever anything changes. And I think I saw the question as well, and I wanted to share. So our app is 100% free. We don't have ads on our site. We don't do sponsored type stuff because I find that annoying. And even like a Forbes article these days, you have to click out of 5 different ads to just read the actual article. And so we do have a partnership with an affiliate link company that has most, not all, but most of the major credit cards. And so whenever we have a link, we'll add that to our database for the Card Genie. And like Tim said, we always post the best offer. So there's plenty of cards right now that other sites are blasting as really great offers because they are really high paying commission cards. And we're not posting those cards because there are better offers, sometimes way better offers, by using a different link. Like right now, there's an Amex Blue Cash Everyday card that just doing a quick Google, you can find a link for $150 more in the sign up bonus than what all these articles are saying is the best offer. So I have not found it that challenging to be ethical and just give the best offers. Some other sites don't seem to be able to do that, even though we're monetized through those links. But what I've found is it's just been long-term loyalty that led to the success of being able to have people that trust what we're recommending. And if you get a card we don't have a link and cannot earn a commission on, that's totally fine. And maybe the next time you do, then we can earn a commission, or you tell your friends about it and that kind of thing. So we will always stick to that, and it's worked really well so far, and we haven't had to charge anything for the app, and there's no premium version or anything like that.
Zach, I have another just quick comment. So yeah, anytime I have this conversation with about travel hacking, I quickly get into the weeds because I start talking about all these rules, 524, and all these things that are sort of relevant to the things that you mentioned, that this bank has 48 months, this bank has 24 months in terms of sign up. I get there really quick, and it drives Amy nuts. So what I really like about your tool is that it really buries all that. So you don't have to, I don't have to have that conversation. Your tool sort of takes that off the table because it has all the intelligence built in. So it's going to make recommendations without you having to understand all the minutia of what's going on. As long as somebody's put their cards in correctly and you know what cards they have, then it's going to make a good recommendation for whoever's looking at the Card Genie. So I really like that about the tool, and also takes pressure off me I don't have to yabber on. So
yeah, thanks for saying that. I think that's part of the magic sauce or whatever, that we can help people navigate that without them having to know all of it. It's like, you don't need to know how a car works to drive it and get on the road kind of thing. So some of those rules are important, but the way we've set this up is to try to minimize that learning curve. And so let's see. So like the Card Genie, within the rankings themselves, you can also filter through different banks and categories so that you can find one that you like. It may not be that our top recommendation is a card you're interested in, so you can look through them and you can press a star and favorite those and only see your favorites. And then, like I said earlier, if there's two of you, you'll have two different sets of recommendations, because like if someone has a Chase Sapphire Preferred, their partner does not have one, they're eligible to get one. So instead of just moving on to the next card you both will use, you can double up on the same exact card, which is, one of the most valuable tips a beginner could know. And being able to just double up on the same cards with the same program is very easy and very efficient use of your time compared to continuing on with all these random cards. I was going to move over, see if I can do this. I'm going to do a different screen share to just show the app itself. And let me know if you can see, this is the web app. So this is a demo page. This is Jim and Pam from the office. Jim is a hyper credit card user. He's 524 is 5 right now. And so we have this tracker on the app, the mobile and desktop, where it'll show you the cards counting towards 524. For those of you that know that, if you don't know that, you sign up for Travel Freely. We'll slowly let you know what that means. And then like Jim's at 5 right now, so it will show you when he will go under and how long that'll take, and then each individual card when it drops off. And then Pam is in a much better situation to get some cards. And then, as Tim said, you can click in and kind of zoom in on each card to see kind of the vital stats, but then also there's the perks of some of the benefits or promos going on under the card. There's the spending categories, and then these are kind of like travel hacking specific. So advice on the annual fee. You can always look this up, but it'll also come with those email alerts to, if you're wanting to avoid the annual fee, here's what the options are. Here's what we recommend. Here's what to keep in mind if you're going to want to keep your points or have other cards. So it gives that to you when you need the information, instead of thinking at all times, I need to figure this out. I need to figure this out. It's at the different times when you get the reminders. And then application tips. Most of the cards have this as well. So if you want to know what the rules are on getting the card again, you can see what they are. And then the resources, basically any article we have that has content related to that card, we'll share in here as well. And so there's some trip reports, some success stories. There's some guides on how to use the points, how to redeem them, those kind of things. Let's see. Then there's also a general resources page with blog posts that internet's slow, so this is taking a while to load, but you can go into any of our categories. Like if you're a couple, this will should populate. We'll see, the internet's slow, but it'll show you the article that explains kind of how a couple can double up on a card. And then let's see, the beginners start here. This is something we kind of hide if you're an advanced user, so you don't get annoyed with the beginner stuff. But if you're a beginner, we will integrate these steps into your to-do list and your task list. So we walk through what you need to do. So it's like an action plan, but it also is educational and action plan. So I know someone's already asked, how do I find the open dates on my cards? So that will, in step 1 is to add your cards, and it actually shows you, here's how people find out the info on their card open dates. There's the tool Credit Karma is very common for people to find that. But if you're really a beginner and you don't have many cards, you just call the number on the card and say, hey, when did I open this? And that's probably easiest. And then there's other elements to here. And like Tim said, being responsible with your credit is super important, not only in general, but it will be your secret weapon to getting all these big bonuses. So you want to make sure it's really good. And so we talk through that and articles on how it actually improves your credit, what to be diligent about. There's different tools that give you free credit scores, and some of those are great, and others are kind of fake scores and not real FICO scores. And I'll just say it because Credit Karma is there. They have great information for you, but they have been known to have really unreliable scores. So you don't want to trust their scores. You can trust the information from your credit report they're giving you for free, but we recommend Experian has a free credit score tool that's based on a real FICO score that should be much better for you if you're trying to track your score. And then let me see, I'll show you this dashboard. There's a version of this homepage on the app as well that shows kind of the bonus points you've earned, both for the year and lifetime. There's a referral count. We just started something where you can win prizes. And then there's kind of some of the vital stats for like your next tasks. And you can go there and see what's coming up, what you need to do next. You can mark it complete or mark it important, those kind of things. And then I think the last thing I'll show would be the settings page. So it can all be anonymous, but you can add your own info. You can put in your home airport. You can put in your names, your business names. And then for active military, there's huge bonuses to being active military where you get a lot of the big annual fees waived. So we have that implemented. You can check that, and then it'll adjust those annual fees. And then there's preferences for email reminders and notifications and those kind of things. I'm going to hop back over to the other slides now. Okay, so that's the Card Genie on the web app, and the mobile app a little different. And then I think I've kind of shared most of this, but Travel Freely is created and really like continued to be something we want beginners and intermediates to be able to jump into this world of points and miles and travel hacking, to leverage the big sign up bonuses and do it fairly easily as a busy average everyday person without having to read tons and tons of articles, without having to know all of these details. And so that's the hope there. And it's been fun because instead of like a blog that people will maybe come and go and read, it's really kind of a community of people that long-term are going from beginner to expert and learning how to do this and traveling every year for free, on and on. And this was not done in coinciding with Tim, but a lot of these, his favorite features are why we're unique in terms of being free, no ads, very user-friendly on no bank logins, and all of those kind of things that I've really already mentioned. And I think that's it. So our website is .net. .com is $30,000 up for sale if anyone wants to make a donation, but it's .net, and then you can go to the App Store and just search for it. And then let's see, we can, if there's anything I missed, Amy or Tim, that you want to add or for me to explain, and then we can jump into these questions.
I have a ton. There have been so many questions. I'm furiously capturing them all here in my phone. We are not going to be able to get to all of them. So what I'm going to want to do is to get to the questions that are really related to Travel Freely that you can answer, because a lot of these questions are for that Tim can answer on a normal basis. So Christine, I saw this message. You might have missed the very first intro. Is it for adapted for Canadians? It is not. So everything, when it comes to credit cards, everything is so specific country oriented. So this is really just for US people. So sorry that that it is not going to cover any Canadian cards. But can I get right into the questions?
There is one website. Yeah, there's one website I think called Prince of Travel. That's kind of the main respected Canadian travel guru for cards. But don't quote me on that unless if it's not that great, but I've heard good things. Okay. Yeah, we can jump in, and I'm happy to kind of fly through some of them rapid fire if.
Okay. Can you take off your slides so we can see this full screen?
Yeah,
perfect.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so so Rachel has an excellent question. So I know your algorithm for Card Genie deprioritizes cards that require major spending. If I have a big purchase coming up and want to consider these high fee cards, is there a way to turn off this feature?
Yeah, so there are in the filters, there are different ways to filter based on the spending required. So you could filter, I think the highest right now is 3,000 or more spending required. So you could just tick that box and it'll take away any of the lower spending requirements. And so that would be very, very easy. And you can also, scroll through pretty quickly, but you can use those filters to really find what you want. And definitely if you find a few you're interested in, you can press the star and that'll favorite it and kind of save that. So if you want to come back and look at it, you can do that.
Okay, that's awesome.
So if I don't want to just filter for the high spending, but I wanted to like factor into the ranking, is there a way to do that?
Not right now in terms of like saving your settings, if that's what you're asking. But if you just click that filter under the spending required, then it will, for that session that you're looking at the cards, it'll save and it'll filter out everything that doesn't apply.
Will the Card Genie still do its magic?
Oh yes, totally. It'll do the magic for everything. So if you click that for 3,000 plus spending required, it'll still only show you the cards that you're eligible for. We have a version of that, the card rankings on our website that isn't for people that are logged in. And so that's for someone just checking things out. But the one that if you're actually logged in, it'll take into account all your cards for all of those filters. So even if you filter by Southwest and you're not eligible for Southwest, it'll be blank when that happens.
Is there ever a case where the 50K Spark card or whatever, would that ever show up at the top because of and the way that your ranking is built obviously has a huge payout, but you got to spend a lot of money. Is that ever going to show up at the top of your list? Is there any way to make that pop up there, or just
not the way I explained it in terms of just checking it out, but if you put that as a favorite card, then it'll be the top favorite if you want to do that. But I love the question because it's already giving me ideas on ways we need to kind of improve and set some filters. And there's definitely ideas we're working on of like, people hate Southwest. They don't want to stare at a Southwest recommendation. So how can we like snooze certain cards or hide them? There's a little bit of a balance of like, well, maybe you don't like that card now, but then a month later, it's 5 times higher in the bonus. You probably want to know about it. So we thought of kind of like a snooze button for some cards. But I like the idea of saving some of being able to like permanently save some of those settings. That's a really good idea.
So, and as your audience grows with you over, I mean, you've been around for over 3 years here. So your beginners, even though you have new beginners coming in, they're now becoming intermediate and getting toward advanced themselves. And I mean, this kind of rolls like, so once you start seeing how great this can be, sometimes like you start with 1 and all of a sudden now we have 30. And so, and then you start to figure out more. We've done a video about how, I mean, Tim did $21,000 of spending without any credit cards in hand, and we're super frugal. So how do we do that? So you kind of figure out ways to, and we'll probably do a whole video about a whole live about this, about how to hit some of those bigger spending requirements. But as your audience gets more advanced, I would think that they might want the higher spending cards.
Yeah,
this is an option. Just to comment the Card Genie, be like, this is a killer deal. Yeah, it's a lot of spending, but it's a killer deal.
Yeah, and there's a balance there that we have. So there's some cards where spend $5,000 and get the initial bonus, and then spend another $20,000 and get another bonus. And so we would call that a multi-tier bonus, and we actually have tracking for that. So if you add that card, we can track and send you email reminders on both of those bonuses. I think that the choice I've made a lot is to err on the side of the beginner for the recommendations, because most advanced people, I think, already have a pretty good strategy of what they want to do, and they have some other sites that they follow that will help kind of complement, and we do that in some ways with and this goes to one question on how to maximize the redemption. So we have a lot of guides on how to use the points. We have sweet spots on the best ways to get to certain parts of the world with those points, or the ones that have the best value. So there's definitely some more intermediate advanced content there as well. And then we also have a partnership with Frequent Miler, which is definitely an advanced expert level site, and everything in between. And so we have a lot of posts that they have that we've reposted, but we also are quick to give them a shout out if they've got content that's much better for next level, advanced level kind of content. But we do have quite a few guides on, how to use the points in the best way possible, the different options you have for beginner that's like super overwhelmed. I just want to book something for free. Here's that option. And then versus how to get more value and those kind of things. And definitely it can snowball in terms of building momentum and getting smarter and learning what you like best, and how to make all that work for you. Because it's as you get more seasoned, you learn what is most important to you based on your airport or your airline preference or your hotels. So that's where it kind of is a little more DIY to be able to know what you like best and how to use it. But from the beginning standpoint, there's so much value for a brand new person that doesn't really know what the best cards are, even though they think they might know, doesn't know that they could get multiple cards that get those kind of points and miles, and then doesn't know that they can redeem those like really, really easily. So the average person that I talk to that says, oh yeah, I know a lot about points and miles, then they'll be like, well, I have an American Airlines card and I fly on them all the time and I've had that card for 15 years. It's like, you could have like way many miles than that. And there's other cards you can get and all that kind of thing. So it's helpful to like kind of be humble in the approach here, because some of the things that you feel set in your ways on may actually not be the best strategy.
Tim, Stephen Pepper writes for Frequent Miler, right?
He does.
So one of our active members is really great about contributing so one of Frequent Miler's bloggers, he works for them, is in our group. And sometimes when you ask a really good travel hacking question, if Tim doesn't answer, Stephen Pepper will, and he's awesome. So you should definitely check out Frequent Miler and Stephen's stuff. As a matter of fact, our cruise, our 1 month cruise that we're going on in the next week is thanks to Stephen Pepper's article on how to get free cruises.
Shay tags him anytime something pops up.
Yes.
His
wife, Shay Pepper, is very, very active in the group. So, okay. So next one. And you mentioned this a little bit. I just want to make sure this is a very important thing, Zach. So if you can kind of quickly, because again, you quickly did it, but Kathy Kaz asks, where's the best place to see opening dates of the cards? Any way to tell when your bonus is hit? I know, like I said, I know you mentioned it. Just if you can highlight that quick.
Yeah. So the open dates, that's the step one content under the app. And the two easiest ways would be, if you don't have many cards, just call the bank and ask them. Or if it's you opened it in the last year or two, you probably can find that by the oldest statement date on your online portal if you want to do that. And then the other way is Credit Karma is a tool that tries to sell you all sorts of financial stuff, but they give you free access to TransUnion and Equifax's credit reports data. So you can look at every card that you have, and it shows when you opened it. It also shows you if you're the primary account holder or the authorized user, which can be helpful if there's two of you and you're not sure who's, say you want to get a second card, you can as a couple, but you're not sure who actually applied for it initially. You can find that out as well. So most people would have like Credit Karma window open while they're adding their cards if they're trying to find the open dates. And one caveat on that is it's not going to tell you like Chase Sapphire Preferred. It's going to say like JP Morgan Chase card. So if you have several Chase cards, you need to have a rough idea of when you open those to kind of match them up. But if you're ever not sure, you can just call the bank and run through those cards. And then in terms of the bonus, there's we're pretty basic with those bonuses. So if you've already hit the bonus and it's older, you just mark that as achieved. And it would just kind of make a conservative date at the bonus deadline was when you achieved it, so that the recommendations will be accurate. But if you're actively going after a bonus and say you hit it 2 months early and you mark it achieved, then it will keep that date as the day you achieved it for all the records. And then the last thing I'd say to that is when there's an active card page and an inactive card page. So if it comes time for you to downgrade or upgrade a card or cancel it, close it, you can edit that card and change the status from active to canceled or changed. And then when you do that, another field will open up to ask you what card did you change it to, if you changed it, or if it closed, it'll ask you the close date. And then once you save that, it will move that card over to the inactive card page, more for your records and kind of archiving, but it uses that information for the recommendations, right? So it will, if you close a card after a year, it still counts towards 524, even though you don't currently have it open. So it will track those as well, but it moves it to the inactive page. And then you can, the new card that if you upgraded or downgraded, the new card will go to the active page. So that's a little bit, next level, intermediate, advanced, but it will track all those. So as you get more sophisticated, or you learn, or if you're an expert coming in right now, you can track all that stuff right off the bat.
Zach, I have an elaboration there. So with the dates, it's certainly important for certain rules like 524 or 48 months with city or things like that. But if you've had the card for 10 years, you can put some arbitrary year in there. The month's sort of important if you're concerned about renewing. So let's just say you've had the card for 5 years. You could put a date 5 years in the past as the year, and then you would know your renewal based upon the last time your card renewed. So you could put the month in based on that. So it's not, so precision isn't necessarily important. It's important for getting great recommendations, but it doesn't have to be exactly precise. Do you agree with that roughly, or is that?
Yeah, that's good. And the only caveat is just being aware that you maybe didn't put the exact date. So, to be careful with that. And there is, for each card, there's a custom notes field that you can type in notes. So some people would put, if they have a couple of businesses, the actual business name, or if someone's, they put some kind of spending on it and they want to track that, then they can write that there. And they can also put like rough estimate on open date, so that then that has a little clipboard icon. You can see those notes. And I can fly through a couple of these questions. So
actually, why don't I have some that are more for you, because like there's plenty that Tim can answer at a later date. So there's some that are better for you. Does the site provide a history of offered bonuses on cards to see if the current offer might be better at some point, or does it show history of sign-up bonuses?
Yeah, I see that. Dr. Cosmodo, great question. So we don't have like an actual record of like, here are the bonuses on these dates, but we will kind of call out if an offer is higher than normal. We'll say that like in our description editorial about the card offer. And sometimes we have a fancy little thing that will strike out the normal offer with a font with a line through it, and then show the new offer, and it has a little alert icon that shows this is higher than normal. We don't do that. Frequent Miler, again, is they sometimes do have a history of that, and they say like, is this higher or lower than the most recent offer? I find some of that's dangerous, because you might sit on a card and think it's going to go up soon, and then 6 months go by and it's never gone up. Or like the CSP was 100K last year, and I'm very doubtful that will happen again. Hopefully it will, but if someone's waiting to do that, then that's, they should just go ahead and get another card while they're waiting or something like that. But normally the rankings will adjust if the card offer goes up or down, and then we'll also try to be pretty explicit on like, this is the best offer ever, or this is a normal, average, not great offer right now, those kind of things.
Okay, Dylan has a good question. Is there a way to tell which card to use to maximize points for certain purchases, gas, groceries, restaurants, etc.?
Good question. So I like that question. It's also a tough one, because philosophically, Travel Freely's approach is to care a lot less about the daily average purchases, because we think 80 to 90% of your points and miles can come very easily by these sign-up bonuses, unless you're spending crazy amounts every month. And so by design, we don't really break it down that far. We have, in terms of some kind of tool, there are some other apps out there that do that. And I'm really overwhelmed when I use them, and they geolocate stuff and show you like, you could get a haircut for 50% off right now and get 2x points when I'm trying to buy pet food or something. But there are some of those apps out there, but we do list what the spending categories actually are under the cards, but they're not, it's not optimized to like help you with every single purchase if you have a bunch of cards. That said, one thing we have a sister site called cashfreely.net, and a Cash Freely app for people that are not travelers or hate travel rewards or just want cash back, which a lot of points and miles people cringe at because they always want the points and miles. But if you're a cashback person, this is a much newer site this year, and we do have a tool that we're finalizing that will, it's still simplified. It will help you know for dining, groceries, and gas what card to use, and what your best recommendation is. And we're integrating your bonuses that are active at the time as well. So if you have a bonus you're trying to hit, we'll tell you that you need to use that card to get the better commission, or sorry, better cash back on that. But for Travel Freely, it kind of goes against the grain of our philosophy a little bit to spend a lot of time on the purchases. And I think if you do find yourself spending a lot of money on certain categories, then it's helpful to like take a few minutes to know what card you want to use where.
And I did put up our link to Cash Freely. Cash Freely is a different site. So if you're a big traveler, like so many in our group are, the Travel Freely is going to be the travel credit cards is kind of where we do our focus. But he does have this, as he mentioned, the new Cash Freely for maybe your mother isn't a big traveler, but she might want to be looking at cashback cards. There's our link in that too. And again, that's a free site. So it won't cost you anything to use that. Okay.
And I'm going to say real quickly, Amy, also, and philosophically, that's sort of where we are too. So back when we were in Colorado and we had some sort of normal trending of spending, like I knew the cards that I wanted to use for office supplies and for my groceries.
You put little Post-its on them too.
And I would put Post-its on them. But so now that we're on the road, our spending is so much less. And so we're trying to focus that spending on only pretty much on new signups. And so what Zach's suggesting is, so every time you sign up, you have a requirement that you've got to spend $3,000, $6,000, whatever it is. And so every penny that we're spending on a credit card is going to go on that new card that's in our wallet. And what Dylan was asking about is oftentimes there's bonus spend on a card. There's a chasing card that gives you 5% back at office supply stores. And so you'd want to obviously know that because you want to leverage that. There's a Amex card that gives you 6% back at grocery stores. And so you'd want to know that. And so but when you're signing up for new cards all the time, it's not as important that you're maximizing those categories because all your spending has to be going on that new card you've got in your wallet.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you calculate? Oh, sorry. I'm on the next question.
I was just going to add, like, some people have the impression that, like, we have like 20 cards in our wallet, and every time we make a purchase, we're finding like which card. I normally have like 2 or 3 cards. It's like a card I'm hitting a bonus on, and then maybe like the all around card that, if I'm not hitting a bonus, like I'm getting the best value for the card I want the most points on at the time. So that's how I do it, like more simplified. But and a lot of people, I think it's a personality thing. If you get stressed out about that, then realize that if you're stressing about 1% here, 2% here, 2x, 3x, if you just got another card with a big bonus, you would be earning probably like 15 to 20x on that spending towards the bonus compared to 2 to 3x.
Okay, so do you calculate the annual fee based on the anniversary of the opening date? I think the answer is just yes. That's from Julie. Is that right?
Yes, that's the automated way we do it. And then you can go back in and edit it once you add the card. So I know some people very specifically, you can't edit the annual fee. So Amex sometimes has a different annual fee date than like the anniversary date. So if you know what that is, you can edit and change it. And the annual fee reminders will come to you 45 days before and 10 days before. So you have, a bunch of kind of time to be alerted to that. And then I think the other thing for beginners to know is that when an annual fee hits your statement, it doesn't mean like it's over and you have to pay it. Like every bank you can call and say, if you want to cancel it, that they'll refund that. And it actually with Amex, our advice is if you're thinking of closing or changing the card, our advice is to actually have the annual fee hit your statement first. And because it's been reported that Amex can flag that activity if you're trying to cancel it, and for whatever reason, once that annual fee hits, maybe they see that as more common, that people are scrutinizing their annual fee. But that's in our annual fee advice for Amex cards, is like actually let the annual fee hit, and then they'll wipe that off if you end up closing and canceling that.
Okay, when Lee asks, when does a card start for the bonus points? When you apply, or when you activate, or when you do your first charge? So I think that's a real quick one. It's pretty much like within a couple days, if not the same day as when you are approved. So as soon as that, like that, if you have a 90 days to hit your sign up bonus, that 90 days pretty much starts as soon as you're approved. Is that a quick, we can just move right on with that one, guys?
Yes, it doesn't matter when you
Okay.
get it, when you activate it. But also there's some wiggle room. I've heard Chase actually gives you 110 days sometimes. So like you can,
Oh, I
and
haven't
you
heard
can
that.
always call and ask them, like, when is my bonus deadline date? Like, when do I have to hit the spending? And they'll tell you.
But we're going to say you never want to be that close. So
Right,
people will
right.
ask us a week before that's 90 days. They'll IM and be like, we haven't hit our bonus. Like, why are you doing this so late? Like, so you have you want to plan when you do a new credit card, you want a plan of how you're going to go ahead and hit that sign up bonus early. Like, it doesn't have to be like in the first month, but you're not going to be like sweating it, because that charge can come in after the statement close date. And so you don't want to be missing out on the sign up bonus. So get that done as soon as you can. There's all kinds of ways. We're going to do a whole session about like how to hit your minimum spend, because that is a really good topic, especially in this group where people tend not to be big spenders. And I'm going to put you both, Tim and Zach, on the spot here. This is a question from Rachel that I think is great. So that question Zach mentions is like, okay, you have your tried and true card in your wallet. What is that card? So you're not working on the sign up bonus card, the other card. What is that card today?
Tim, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, so for us, it's going to be probably some card so right now it's my Chase Sapphire Preferred. I'm sorry, it's my Capital One Venture X, because it gives me 2% back everywhere I go, and so that's why. And so that's the card that would be my go-to day-to-day card. Before I had the Venture X, it would probably have been, and when we were in the States, it probably would have been something that earned UR points. One of the Freedom cards that gives 1.5 points back, because so you want to have something that's giving you a better return if you're just making day-to-day purchases. The reserve isn't something you're going to use unless you're buying airfare or something like that. So it just sort of depends on where I am at any given moment, but right now it's Venture X.
Okay, Zach.
Nice. But for me, so I think if anyone just comes out and says, here's the best card for you to have all the time, like that's probably a bad answer. The answer is really, it depends. It depends on your spending habits, what the biggest categories are. It also depends on what kind of points or miles you want. So for me, if I had to answer the question, I'd probably say Freedom Unlimited, because of the Chase points are probably most valuable for us. We're in Denver. Southwest and United are big hubs here, and we can transfer Chase points to those. We also have a Sapphire Reserve, so we can move our points from the Freedom Unlimited to the Reserve for the 50% boost in the portal. And then there's Hyatt's all over Colorado. That's awesome. And we've got little kids, and we've been doing some Hyatt Ziva all-inclusive stays to get great benefits. We just booked a Huntington Beach Hyatt. It was like $5,000 total, and it was 100,000 Chase points. So that was over 5 cents per point redemption. So there's all those kind of factors into it. But if you lived in Atlanta and Delta is a huge hub, like you might not even need or want Chase points. But normally it's the card that gets you the most points that you need at the time if you're running low on something. So like we might switch to the Venture card to get 2x if we're running low on Capital One miles and want more of those. But the Freedom Unlimited alongside the Sapphire Reserve, the 1.5x, I think once you get those top cards, then getting a card like that can be awesome, because we have daycare, we have insurance that we can put on, health insurance we can put on a card, doctor bills, car payment, like car repairs, and all those can get 1.5x with the Freedom Unlimited. So it's 50% more points every time.
We're currently working on a platinum sign up bonus, so we've got a lot of spending, or $6,000 of spending to do. So not a lot of spending is going anywhere other than there, right?
And just last week we hit our Chase Sapphire Preferred. So when Zach had mentioned sometimes couples each have 2 cards. So Tim and I both have the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I just got it after downgrading from I would say downgrading my Chase Sapphire Reserve and then starting a new Chase Sapphire Preferred. We both have the the Amex Platinum. So we both have double cards on these Rockstar cards. So there were so many good questions that we're going to be doing lives around it. Unfortunately, because we're on a boat for 30 days. We're not going to be able to do this in a boat. So I'm not going to be apologizing because I cannot wait. But we're going to be in Washington, D.C. in about a month, a little over a month. And so we're going to be building some of these kinds of Q&As just with Tim on the phone and answer those questions. Now, if you have had like a really urgent question, so I know like someone like talked about maybe downgrading their Chase Sapphire Reserve and their strategy about reapplying to the preferred. If you're doing this like now and you can't wait for that call in a month, just send me a message in Facebook. I'm pretty responsive. Our cruises, we're not doing any transatlantic, so at most we're off line for a day or two. But if there's anything like urgent, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer that. And you don't have to wait for a month for that question to be answered. And again, we have links to absolutely pretty much every bank card you can imagine. So so you can certainly feel free to go through the Travel Freely app, but you can also ask us directly. And sometimes it's nice just to have Tim like, it's not the best thing to message Tim directly because he's not the most responsive person. But if you message me, he'll respond. I'll ask like, Tim, someone needs a recommendation. Here's what they have. Here's what they're spending. So it's always good because he'll be like, oh, that's not such a great offer. There's something else that I've heard is coming out next week. So I highly recommend that you always send me shoot me a PM. And the idea is to do that like the week you want to apply, because this stuff changes so quickly that if you're just looking for your next card in November, this is real premature because things are going to change a lot between now and 2 weeks from now. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. And I would say just quick thing, if people are just wondering what are the best cards right now, like the Sapphire Preferred is normally like the best like beginner starter card, but there's also the City Premier right now, which has a higher than normal bonus. And for the everyday spending, it also earns 3x on groceries, gas, and dining, like the big 3 categories. So those are like, that's kind of a no-brainer card right now for people that don't have it. So I wanted to share that if people are like just needing that kind of thought and recommendation. But the other thing I would share is we started this year like a mentor program. So like if you sign up, then you can get a mentor to help like answer some questions. And we also are asking to get more mentors soon. So if you're like super advanced person and love Travel Freely, then we'd love to have you be a mentor. But it's like you said, Amy, it's definitely good. If it may seem like a complicated question, but because Tim, you guys are doing this all the time, it's sometimes a very easy answer to get a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, for sure. And again, Tim's like obsessed with this. So no one else is spending like 8 hours a day looking at this stuff. So you don't have to like take advantage of Tim's expertise and time that he spends.
Neither am I. I got all your chores to do.
Okay, we're not getting into this here. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up with that, guys. There's some chance that we're gonna do our July spending and our wrap up, like our normal monthly video. There's some chance we're gonna do it in this kind of a format. Otherwise, we have to get it done before the cruise, and I don't know that we're gonna get to do that. So I'm gonna see how the recording of this went. If it's okay and the tech worked okay, then you might want to see that before we hop on that boat in the next month to get that video done. So we're going to see you in lives a lot. Thank you. Pop any questions in the event page. Message me directly. Anyway, you get to me. We're very happy that you are here, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Zach. Great stuff.
Yeah, thank you, guys.